Okay, hello everyone. How are you doing? I hope you're doing really awesome with whatever you've been doing. I hope you had a wonderful weekend, and mine was totally great. I've been on transit for a while now, so I just landed, and I just thought to make this great video for you guys. There's one thing someone asked me of within the week, and it was about expressions, applying them to your animated character, and how to impute them to make them work really great. So I have this character here, and I want to just show you real quickly why you should apply expressions and use them, and how you should apply expressions to make your animated work really awesome. So with no further ado, let's get it started. Many a times, most people don't really know how to apply great expressions to their animated character. That's why sometimes the character looks a bit off and doesn't look like the real deal as you see it in motion pictures. So I want to just show you real quick here. If I go into the character, I have 25 switch layers of different emotions of the mouth, creating different expressions. As you can see here, I'm just going through them, just a few, so you could see how they look. So we'll be applying this switch expressions, adding them to a bone layer and mixing them up. With this way, you can create more expressions while creating your animations and make your character do a lot of things. When I started, I had not been applying this myself. I just, make a mouth open and close, and, just make the character quickly. And sometimes I ask myself, why is the character not looking so great? Or whenever I want to create a particular expression, that's when I go back to recreate that expression. It happens to a lot of people, most especially beginners. And I want to help you solve this problem if it's something you've been battling with for a while now. And also, you create expressions with the eyes and mouth. You don't just create an expression with just the mouth, you create with the eyes and mouth. So for this character, I'll be showing you here how I have been able to add them to the bone. You could see all the mouth expressions playing out, all 25 of them. And here you could see the eye expression also. You could see where I labeled it eye expression. You could see the different eye expressions as the character plays out. So you could create different expressions for what you're trying to do. So we'll be starting with a clean slate, and I'll be creating a simple head and showing you how I added the bones and made the expressions and so on and so forth. So just follow me as I do this real quickly. So I'll just draw a quick circle here, and I'll call this head. Yeah, and I will draw another vector here, and I'll call this hair. Okay, so right here for the head, I want to change the colors to let's say that's the color we're going for. And for the hair color, also want it to be black, so I will just create something real simple here. And I don't want this to be a super long video. I want it to be real short, so P here, and have this. So this is just a simple character. When it comes to character creation, you can create your characters in whichever way you want. All right. All right. So let's say this is what we have. We'll put both of them in a folder. Call this head folder. All right. So now we have our head, and what we need is to bring in our eyes and face. So I had already saved the eyebrows, the eye, and the mouth, which I have pre-created in Moho in a different file. So whenever I need to use such expressions, all I have to do is drag it and drop it into Moho Studio. So head. All right. So I'll centralize this with my origin, and I will drag it into the face. So you can see automatically we have a face. So you set it the way you want. You can also reduce the size. You know how this is done, whichever way you want. And you can also go into shift the eyebrows, shift the mouth, to whichever part you want. But I think we'll just leave it like this for the sake of this video and so on. So what I want to show you is how to merge the expressions with your smart bones, and so that you can use them to create animations while you are making your character, or while creating your animations in Moho Studio. It's really quite simple. So I'll show you the things I did at first. These layers you see here were created in Photoshop. So I brought this in with Photoshop while I was creating, and also the mouth expressions here were created in Moho Studio. You can see we have our Moho vector here, so I can also manipulate this, so on and so forth. So all these expressions you see here were created in Moho Studio. So you can create as much expressions as you want. Excuse me. And also the eyes were also created with Moho Studio, you could see, and I had them in different folders, all 13 of them. So you can see we have different eyes expression. So you could do these expressions as more as you want. You could get them up to 100, and it's so easy. You could just Google face expression or Google expressions on the internet, and you get different expressions. You could just bring them into Moho Studio and draw, and just put them in different folders as you see I have done here, and create a switch layer for it, and you are done. And I'm saying this because I think you should already know how to do this. If you have been following my page, this is something you should know how to do: create a switch layer and create files in Moho Studio. Alright, so the next thing for you to do now is you would put this main head switch layer into the character layer you are trying to create. You could separate them if you want, since they are already in a switch layer called head. You could just drag or bring them out, or drop them the way they are as it is, because you will still have to create a different layer for them as it is. So I'm removing them from their original layer. Let me delete that layer. So I want to take full control of them here. So I'll just drag it back into this layer, and boom, that is what we have. Then I'll go back to the head layer here. Then I'll create a bone layer. I'll convert it to a bone layer. Now this main layer you see here is the complete head we have here. Alright, though we don't have any ears put there yet, so maybe we should add an ear for those who would say we had not created an ear. So I'll just draw a simple ear here, and I'll pick this color here, and I'll create shape. Alright, so that we have Ctrl C, Ctrl V, hold shift and drag it to the other side. Alright, so when we look at our character, we have our ears there. So the ears should either be behind the head or in front of the head, whichever one you want. Alright, so I'm putting the ears behind the head. So you go to the bone layer here, and the next thing you do is you add bones. You come to the bone tool here, then add your bone. Drag a bone up here, Ctrl Z. Let's add a bone to the head. Ctrl Z. Sorry for that. We'll add a parent bone, and we'll add a child, so that we can control the head properly. Alright, so we'll remove all strength, then we'll bind this bone to the head. You go into the eyebrows, you bind to the bone. You go to the mouth, you bind to the bone. You can see the tool here that I picked. Bind to the bone. You go to the eyes, bind to the bone. The hair, bind to the bone. The head, bind to that bone. The ear, you bind to that bone. Alright, So this is just a head character, and it's the same way you do it for your full character. If you don't know about creating character, check out my other course or go through my YouTube channel. You see where I showed how to make a full character, and you apply this expression that I'm explaining to you here as your expression. So with that being done, you go here to your select bone tool, click outside of the box here, make sure no bone is selected, then you pick your add bone tool, then you add a fresh bone, you add a new bone rather, and you remove the bone strength by coming to the bone strength tool here. You remove that bone strength, then you go to your constraint, then you add your angle constraint, and you can make this 90 and here 90 if you want. Then you close that, then you go to your actions, then you come down here, new action. I'm using Moho 13, so for those that don't have Moho 13, if you have a different Moho, when you go to action, you see this same icon, you see it at the top here. So you just click it, and you get that bone. We had not labeled the bone, so let me undo that. Ctrl Z to undo. You come to your bone tool here, make sure you pick the select bone tool, you select that bone, you name that bone. I'm going to call this mouth expression. I hit enter. So I'll come to my actions here, and I'll click new action. You could say it mouth expression, and I'll move like, let's say 96. All right, then I'll take my bone transform tool here. So you rotate the bone to this point, and make sure on your timeline you had dragged it to a much more further place on your timeline. So the bone, you just rotate the bone to this point where it's like 90 degrees. All right, so the next thing to do is now you go into your head layer, then you go to the mouth switch layer. So at 96, what you want to see is what? Number 1, then you move further. Then number 2, this is how you create your switch for your character. Number 3, number 4. So you could see if we take it like this, number 5, number 6, number 7, number 8, rather, not 9, 8, number 9. I could come in here and reduce this also, just like you've seen how I did it. And I'll go to number 10, number 11, 12, number 13, number 14, number 15, number 16. You can see what's happening. You can see how the bone keeps climbing up back to its original position. 17, 18, 19, 20. So we still have more to go. So right now, the next thing for you to do is highlight this and drag. You highlight it and just drag it further so that you can add more of the actions. All right, so we stopped at 19. Yes, so this will be 20, then we have 21, we have 22, we have 23, we have 24, and finally we have 25. So right now, if we double click on the main line and go back to our bone here, you will see that as we move through, the mouth is moving. I hope you could see this. So you could see this is how you create your expressions with your bone, so that you'll be able to do this while animating using your bone actions. Alright, so this is the same thing you would do with the eyes and whichever the eyebrows also, whichever part you had created a switch for. This is how you merge it with the bone. So let's just do a few parts of the eyes really quickly so you get the idea much more. So we'll create another bone here and we'll remove the strength of that bone, and we can also add constraints to that bone if you want, right, by putting angle constraints. But since we're having a very long um, string of switch layers, I like it to almost go 360 so that it makes it easier to work with, and it has enough space in between them, so it's not just choked, if you get what I'm saying. Because right now, if there's no much space between them while you're scrolling through, you'll be finding it a bit hard to switch in between layers while creating your animations. So let me show you what I mean here. So we'll come to this bone here. You can name the bone real quickly. Let's call that eye switch. Okay, so I'll come into my actions. I'll add the bone here, eye switch. You can see it here. Then I'll move, let's just same 96 frames. You can go for as much further as you want, but since we can always shift it if it's not enough. So I will rotate this bone now to this point. Alright, so when I bring it back, you can see it rotates like 360 back. Alright, so I will now go into the eyes. Here's the eyebrow. I'm going to the eyes. So we now have 1 here, 96. Then I'll add my switch there, add 1. Then I'll move like 84. Then I'll add another switch, 2. You could see what I'm doing, yes. I'll add another 3. So this is how you just quickly create all the eye expression you had drawn out already. Okay, 6, 7. Now this here, you can see it's too much, so all I have to do is come to this point here and drag it to wherever I want it to be. So 24. I'm not using my lines properly at the moment, but you get the idea. 9, 10. So I could just highlight all of them, and from this point I'll drag to add more. Then I'll come here, 11, 12, and 13, the last one. Right? What did I just do? I think I just made a mistake there. Ctrl Z to undo that. So female here, 13, the last one. Alright, so this is how you create them, and we'll go back to our main folder and double click on our main line, and this is what we have. When we come in here and move this, you could see the eyes switching in between, and you could understand, if you understand, there's a space in between before the eyes switch, so which is very good. It doesn't make this the switch layer turn so fast that you are unable to catch which is which. Like from here to here, you would know that this expression is different from this one. But when they are close to themselves, let's go back in to the female layer. When they are very close to themselves, the time it takes for this to switch to this could be very small, and it might be a bit tough for you while animating. So always give a lot of space in between while making your switches. I hope you understand that. So we'll click on the main line, and that is how you create smart bones for switch layers, instead of creating the animation and always jumping back into your character to create to make a switch while on your timeline. Some people while animating and they want to make the head, so they could do something like this. Let's move a bit further. Let me show you a quick animation. So we'll move a bit further. So let's say you have this, then you have to now come into your switch layer and pick this. Then you go to the female eye, then you go to your switch layer again, you pick this. So instead of doing this all the time, when you have your animation like this, you don't really have to go through those stress of going through your switch layers. You already have them in your as smart bones. So let me show label here. So since you already have them as smart bones, it makes your life really easy. So you just work with bones directly. So what you have to do here is, you drag your layer here, then you just pick the mouth expression you want for that character. Then you pick the eyes expression also. Then you could move a bit further while you are changing your animation also. Then at this point, let's say we add another keyframe here. So at this point, the eyes shift a bit. So while it turns, at this point, you now have this. And the mouth probably, it gets happy. So you could, if you notice in between here, you could see the switch turning a lot, right? It's because it's recording at the process as you are turning your bone. So it's really easy to stop that from happening. At this point here where you have the O, all you have to do is just copy this frame and drop it immediately before the next frame where you made your switch. So when you play this, everything just works smoothly. Alright, so it makes your life simple and easy. And you can also do this by also just tapping on that particular bone that you had made to use to create the switch layer. Alright, so this is how you create smart bones with switch layers and create more expressions for your animated cartoons or characters that you are creating presently. I hope this helps somebody out there to make better animations using Moho Studio. I'll see you in the next video. Do follow my channel, do subscribe to my channel, do share and like my videos. My analytics tells me that 80% of you that watch my videos are not subscribed. Come on, help a brother out. Help me to keep doing this and help me to keep serving you with so much value. Thank you very much. Subscribe to my channel. See you in the next video.